There was a single mom whose alarm would go off every morning around 4:30, 5 o'clock. She would get up, drag herself out of her little bed in her little duplex. She would wipe the sleep from her eyes. She would go to the little bathroom that she shared with her 2-year-old, and she would get down the blouse that she had hung up the night before after washing it in the sink to dry. She had 3 suits. She had a navy blue suit, a red suit, and a black suit, so she could mix and match the tops and bottoms and make it look like she had more clothes than she did. And she would tiptoe down the little hall of her little duplex to the kitchen, and she would get out the carton of milk, and she would spoon a little bit more powder in it and put it under the sink and shake it up, because if the 2-year-old knew it was powdered milk, he was having no part of it. And she would finally wake him up and get him dressed and sit there in the pre-dawn darkness eating bottom shelf bag cereal, because when the door to the daycare opened at 6:30, she'd be standing there with her little 2-year-old in tow, because at 7 a.m., the giant garage doors in front of the service drive would fly open, and she'd be standing there with her clipboard ready to greet her first customer. This single mom would meet a finance manager at the dealership like you do. They would fall in love, they would get married, and that little 2-year-old would end up growing up inside of a dealership. And I tell you this because if there's anybody in the world that understands the capacity of the automotive retail business to transform lives, it's that little 2-year-old. And I tell you this because that little 2-year-old is unbelievably overwhelmed to be standing on this stage today talking to this room of people who also understand the capacity of this business. That's my mom. She was as she claims, the first female service writer for General Motors in the early 1980s. It was a different world back then. When her and my dad, who is my stepdad, I call him my dad, celebrated their 40th anniversary, my mom tracked down a front license plate from the dealership they worked at, and that's hanging over the door to their lake house. And I tell you this because it's incredible to me that I'm here. I've got 6 little kids in that room next door eating breakfast right now, and the legacy of what this business does continues to trickle through family after family after family. When I went to Oxford and Cambridge, the flights that took me there were paid for by dollars generated working inside of a car dealership. And so what I'm going to talk to you about here is something that nobody's ever heard before, because this is the first time I've ever given this presentation. You can see that it's brand new as I've created how I'm going to do it here. But I want to talk to you about what I believe is happening inside of this business and what you can do to ensure that your children's children have an incredible future and legacy ahead of them. Now, my name's Joe St. John. I started selling cars in 1998. I worked through every channel in variable ops until I was a GM of 2 Toyota stores. I know I look like a retail guy. I know what most of you are thinking, which is, why is there a washed up extra from Sons of Anarchy on stage talking to us about the car business? And I promise I was in retail. Here's a picture to prove it. I trained F&I managers at one of the biggest F&I product companies in the world. And I've been flying around the country, getting on stage after graduating from NADA, talking about what this business means and what I think is happening in digital. And this is a slide I've been talking about since 2017. This is the road to the what? Sale. What's step number 1? Meet and greet. Then we ask them a bunch of questions. What do we call that? Fact find, needs analysis, interview, interrogation. Then we land them on the perfect vehicle. We go butterfly it up, do something that looks like this. What's this called? Walk around, I get them licking the paint off of it. Then I do this thing that looks like this. What's this called? Yeah, milking a cow. Then I come back, trial close them 3 times, park them in the sold lane, go inside. Hey, if all facts and figures are agreeable, you're willing to drive it home today, great. Sign here, let my manager know that you're serious. And I go to my manager and I'm like, hey, listen, she's got $2,500 down, she's trying to be at $550. Does my manager ever give me $2,500 down and $550? No, what do they give me? Yeah, $8,000 down, $880 a month. And I'm like, bro, don't do this to me. Come on. She's got $2,500 down. She's trying to be at $550. And my manager's like, do I need to get a real salesperson in here? All right, fine. And here's how you know, by the way, I'm going to jump down because he did. Here's how you know your salespeople don't love the pencil you just gave them. I'm going to show you. They fold it in half like this. And they just go, oh. And they walk out and they go, okay. Congratulations, I've got great news. With just $8,000 down, you're at an $880 payment. And she laughs, and she's like, bro, I told you I got $2,500 down. I'm trying to be at $550. What are you doing to me? And I'm like, listen, you know how this game's played, right? Look, I'm on your side. That guy's an asshole. I don't know what's going on. I think he may be on drugs or going through a divorce. But look, the longer I'm out here, the more he thinks I'm doing my job. So, what do you think about those NBA finals? And now we're talking, right? And then I'm like, okay, right down here. So $2,500 down, $550 a month. I get her to sign off on it. I go back to my manager. How excited is he about my offer I just got from that customer? He does this and like throws it at me, right? I'm like, oh, awesome. Now I'm like straightening it out. There's a bunch of Sharpie color changes. It's now red for some reason. And finally, like 45 minutes later, she's exhausted and is like, I think I just want to go home and think about it. And I'm like, hang on, I have a great idea. And I run to my manager and I go, hey, my customers want to go home and think about it. Do you want to come take a TO and talk to them? And my manager's like, no, I like to train from the desk, all right? This is a training opportunity. I'm going to load your lips up. You ready for this? All right, here's what I want you to say. And he tells me some stuff. I've got like a 0.2% probability of ever repeating back to that customer with any confidence. And he's like, makes me learn all these words in this moment when my anxiety is at max. And now I come back over there and I'm like, oh, okay, so some stuff my manager said. Let me think. There's cars, money, there's a barrel. I think we're at the bottom of it. I don't know. Do you want to buy this car? She's like, I don't even know what that means. And then I just wave, and that dude comes running out here, like pulling his pants up. Why do they always do this when they go TO, right? Comes out. Says basically the same stuff I just said, but a much more better polished version of it. And what does she do? Oh, that sounds good. I'll sign up right now. And now I get to start her favorite part of this entire process because I'm going to go check her in the business office, and what's she super excited about? Yeah, she gets to meet with a wizard in a broom closet in the back of the dealership that's going to conk her on the head and take more money from her. And because I'm a high-quality salesperson, I'm going to start this off with a bold-faced lie, because what's the first question she's going to ask me? Don't worry, you're going to be in and out in like 5 minutes. It'll be super fast. We've got the fastest F&I managers on the planet. And then I check her in, and my finance director's like, hey, bud, you need to go hang out with your customer. We're like 7 deep right now. It's going to be a minute. And I'm going, oh, God, this deal's not sticking. Oh, my God, she's leaving. And I tell her, hey, by the way, this is salesperson. For those of you that haven't sold cars, this is a secret trick. Hey, I'm going to go get your car ready so that when you come out, we don't waste any of your time, which is code word for I'm going to go to the smoke hole, rip my vape pen, and second guess every life choice that took me to this place. Like, oh, God, I should have stayed in college. Like, oh, man, this place, what am I doing with my life? And now she comes, and by the way, we all have, everybody here, we all have that one F&I manager we're praying she doesn't get. You guys know what I'm talking about? We've all got a Daryl. We're like, oh, God, don't let her get Daryl. Please don't let her get Daryl. And then who always ends up coming to take this customer? Oh, God, it's Daryl. And now she's back in Daryl's office for way too long. He's fumbling around. You can watch her body language just slowly get worse and worse and worse. She comes out an hour and a half later like this, just wobbling, and Daryl's handing me a packet like, you feel how heavy that is, kid? It's 5 pounds. He's like putting acid on the windshield of her new car for some reason. And now I've got to do a delivery or I'm going to get screamed at by a manager. What's my delivery turn into now? Hey, there's 2 ways we can do this. I can teach you how Bluetooth works, or you're going to get a survey from the manufacturer. And the customer's like, I'll say anything. I just want to go home. It's like a hostage situation. They're like, this dealership has been so nice to me. They have fed me and taken good care of me. They have free cookies. 10 out of 10. I don't know. Truly exceptional. There's a word that gets me out of here. And now what's crazy to me is that if you go to any sales training in America, you know what we're going to teach your salespeople? That. And that's what's wild to me. Because let me ask you this, is the consumer different today than they were in 1998 when I started selling cars? Is the way that you buy everything you buy today different than it was when you bought it in early 2000? Bro, you live in a world where you hit a button on your cell phone and deodorant shows up at your house in a little while. That's the world we live in. And what's crazy is when you look about the data of this customer, this is what it looks like. You got a customer doing 14 hours worth of research, showing up to 1, maybe 2 dealerships, and spending 3 hours there buying a car. Now, I've been telling this story about this road to the sale since about 2017. In fact, I'm a guest instructor at NADA Dealer Academy. If you come through the academy, I'm part of the Variable Ops 2 class. In fact, I think that this slide right here is the reason that I think we're at the point we are. And I'll be honest here, I work for a company that does a bunch of digital stuff. I think the digital retail company screwed it all up. Stephen Greenfield, I mean that genuinely. I think that the digital retail companies came out in like 2018 and told everyone in this room, like, there are customers that want to buy a car online. There are all these customers that just want to buy a car. They don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to buy a car online. You know what the data shows? That there's like a few. But what do the vast majority of them want to do? What you all have been telling tech companies forever. They want to go touch it and drive it and smell it and sit in it. How many of you would buy a house off Zillow without looking at the house? Anybody here ever like looked at a house on Zillow and been like, that's the perfect one? You go into it and immediately you're like, nope. Anybody here ever looked at one that your wife talked you into going to look at and you're like, this is not the house. And you walk into it, you're like, this may be the house, bro. Like this might be the house. Same thing buying a car. You know what digital retail actually means? Is that 83% of your customers just want to be able to do one or more of those steps online. So when they come to the dealership, they can save what? They can save what? Time. It's the number one complaint on your CSI surveys today. What's the number one complaint on everybody's CSI surveys today? Yeah, it takes too long. What was it 5 years ago? It takes too long. What was it 10 years ago? It takes too long. If the number one complaint of your customers is time, and solving time actually delivers what the customer wants, does that help your business to be more successful? Absolutely. And here's what's wild to me. This is the quiz I give at the beginning of every NADA class I teach. 92% of customers start the car buying journey online. They do on average 14 hours worth of research. Yet when they show up to our dealership, how many hours does it take us to sell them a car? Over 3. Name one thing that takes you 3 hours to buy. Don't say a house. I bought one last June and it took me 22 minutes to close on it. I've only heard two things at the academy that I believe, a boat and an RV, because that's basically the car business from the 90s. The third thing I heard, I don't have this experience, but someone said a wedding dress. Now, in 1998, I went to sales training. I'm not going to tell you who the trainer is because they're recording this and I don't want to be sued. But his first name's the same as mine. His last name's Spanish for green. And I went to this training. See a couple of y'all chuckling because you've watched those VHS cassettes. I went to the training, and the cornerstone of everything he taught was that my customer was going to go to 5 dealerships before he made a purchase decision. See a bunch of y'all nodding along. You've heard that before. Anybody know how many dealerships your customer goes to today before they buy? There's 3 studies out. It ranges from 1.2 to 2.3, meaning when they show up to our dealership, they're showing up with the intent to what? Buy. They're not there to kick tires and look around. They are there to make a purchase. And here's what's wild to me. If 83% of customers want to be able to do more online so that when they show up to the dealership, they can save time. And now I've given this at every single NADA class I've taught since 2017, and I want to know, what's the one thing that everybody should be calling me out about? Is this data fresh data? No, it's old. It's from 2018. Has a lot changed in our business since 2018? Has the world changed somewhat since 2018? Okay. Well, one of the things that has changed is if the promise of digital retail was to allow customers to do more online so when they came to the dealership they could save time, and now according to NADA, 91% of you are doing digital retail, would you expect if everyone's doing digital retail that 187 minutes to get a whole lot better? If being able to do things like calculate payments online, submit for your approval, get pre-approved through whatever tool, if that was actually allowing customers to speed up the process and 91% of you were doing it, would you expect that 187 minutes to go significantly down? You guys want to see today's data? Congratulations. My work here is done. It's 172 minutes. We've trimmed off 15 minutes. I can go home now. I feel like the digital revolution has taken hold. We have solved all the problems of this business. I'm going to pack it up and I'm heading out. Now, here's what worries me. I grew up in this business. It's what I know. And I'm already starting to see us engaging in the behaviors that terrifies me. I call it car guying it, right? What I mean by that is I'm scared that we're going to go, oh yeah, I tried that digital retail thing, it didn't work. Oh yeah, we tried it, didn't seem to really matter much, so we got rid of it. Yeah, we tried it. I don't know. I think customers still want to come into the dealership, and I think we're going to take it and throw the baby out with the bathwater and convince ourselves that technology doesn't change things. Let me ask you all something. Does technology change things? Absolutely. This is what TV looks like now. Think about that for a moment. You guys remember what TV used to look like? Bro, you would get a newspaper and open it up to the TV guide section. You needed a ruler and an abacus. You're like, all right, Tuesdays at 9, Breaking Bad. Kids got to be in bed. Dad's watching his show. Bro, we organized our life around the content. We used to have tables that would fold out in the living room so you could eat your dinner. They were literally called TV trays. That's what TV used to look like now. What's it look like now? You hit a button and your favorite show starts playing, and it's so easy that they start playing the next episode whether or not you want it to. It's next, and you're if you're like me, you're I don't watch 10 minutes of it. And then 3 more episodes later, I'm I have to go to bed now. Right? And what's wild is I'm scared that we see the end result of technology and we don't recognize all the little steps that got us to that end result. Because we see this as Netflix. Anybody know this is not where Netflix started? Where did Netflix start? Yeah, mailing DVDs around the country. And I think that this is the perfect picture of the digital retail moment in the automotive car business right now. I think we are in the mailing DVD phase of what digital can do for your dealership. And I didn't have to mail DVDs to figure that out. What I did was I loaded up my pregnant wife at the time and 5 kiddos into a giant Sprinter van, and I drove all over the country selling cars at dealerships everywhere, trying to figure out what was going on. I literally, secret boss showed up. They would give me a golf shirt with a dealership logo on it. They would introduce me as a new salesperson, all the salespeople, and I would just start taking ups and see what happened. I went from California to Richmond, Virginia, from St. Augustine, Florida, to Dallas, to Minneapolis, every brand you can think of, and I slung metal out there to see what's happening with customers. I can actually tell you a couple quick stories about this because I think it's hilarious. So I did 2 stores for 2 weeks in California, a Mazda store and a Subaru store, and they shared a staging lot. I'm a pretty unique looking individual. And I was these Mazda salespeople are going to know it's me from the Subaru store. So that weekend, I shaved my beard into a mustache and showed up at the Subaru store. Not a single person recognized me. Rolled in hello, I'm Joe, the new salesperson. I also look ridiculous. Now, here's what I saw. I saw really 4 things out there selling cars that I think we have to take into consideration. Thing number 1, the amount of manual decisions that happen working a car deal is wild to me. The amount of thought processing manual decisions that happen in a car deal, let's be honest, a car deal, it's math, right? I could train, I feel like a chimpanzee to be great at working car deals. Here's cost, good banana, bad banana. It's not, but the amount of manual decisions that happen in a car deal is wild to me. We also have a negotiation process that genuinely triggers resistance from your customer, and you don't see it because you live at the dealership. If you imagine for a moment you were out of a dealership for 2-3 years and then you just showed up and observed what was happening, you watch as this salesperson sits down across from this customer like this and looks them in the eyes and stares down the customer, and you just watch everything in that customer go into fight or flight mode. And I think part of the reason is, anybody here sold cars? Show of hands. Any of y'all ever sell cars? All right. Any of y'all sell cars in the 90s or 2000s? And you're okay, 2000s? All right, y'all on my crew. Now, this was wild to me. You remember in 2003, 2005, you'd be at the desk. I was a sales manager 2005, 2006. And some salesperson Billy would come in and be all right, boss, I got a customer. Great, what do you got? And Billy'd be well, I got to tell you, they've been on the internet. And we'd all go, oh, hell, an internet customer? No, man, I bet they want to see an invoice too. You can tell, buckle up. Do they have the file folder with all the print-offs in it? And we would all make a big deal about it being an internet customer. And you know what? That's now all your customers. And that flow of information, I was under the false impression that today's customer was gonna be like nicer and easier. I literally was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know why. The first customer I upped treated me like I just stolen a bunch of stuff. And I kind of look like I just stole a bunch of stuff, but it was wild, man. I told a priest the other day, I was like, hey, you want to get some humility? Get a golf shirt with a dealership logo on it and just start talking to customers because they will treat you like garbage. And I tell you this because I think the trust gap with the customer has gotten wider, not narrower. It has gotten way wider, not narrow. And then the last thing, salespeople I worked with were unlike any salespeople I've ever met. I had one of those deals where I had an up. They were looking at a Subaru Forester. They also wanted to look at a Jeep Wrangler across the street. Now, they're not going to buy this car until they go look at that Jeep. So I used an old school trick. Hey, why don't you leave your trade here? I got somebody who wants to take a look at it. We might be able to put a little more money in the trade. So I'm going to hold the trade at the dealership. You walk over there, and when you come back. Now, I'm in the middle of working other deals. Hey, I need you. Come here real quick. And then I want them to, here's all I want you to do. Stand right here, and when they come back, they're going to try and get in the Jeep. I want you to just yell for me, and I'm going to give you a free car deal. Well, how long are they going to be? I don't know. You got somewhere to be? Well, yeah, it's like 5 o'clock. My shift's almost up, and I got to get home. We've got a big Call of Duty game I'm playing tonight. Okay, fine. How about you? You want a free car deal? Well, I don't know. I'm on the early shift with him. I'm actually in the Call of Duty game with that guy. Okay, does anybody here want a car deal? Right? And to me, that doesn't compute. But what I'm going to tell you is, I think that Gen Z has some of the highest untapped potential of any generation of salespeople we've ever seen. I think we're just having a really hard time unlocking it. And I'm going to tell you how I believe you can fully ignite that Gen Z sales force in a way that is super dynamic. Now let's start talking. I'm going to talk about all the manual decisions. Any sales managers in here? Anybody working the desk at all? Okay, that's it. All right, anybody here go stand by the desk and watch them work the desk at all? If you spend time at the desk, I'm going to show you what I like to call manager face, because you will see them make this face over and over and over again. I call it manager face, and there's a reason why, and the reason is tied not to psychology, but to the biology of how our brains work when we're at work doing work. Most of you have two parts of your brain you use in the car business. You have the inside part of your brain that's called the limbic system, also known as the monkey brain or the lizard brain. It's where you feel feelings. It's where instincts come from. It's where anybody ever been somewhere and you're like, this is about to jump off, and then it jumps off, and you're like, oh yeah, I saw that coming somehow, but I didn't know why I saw it coming. That's your limbic system firing. Your neocortex is the outside part of your brain. It is the most recently evolved part of your brain. It's where you do heavy lifting when it comes to decision making and logic processing and math. It's also the part of your brain where you feel discomfort. Let me ask you all this. Anybody here ever had a huge life decision to make and it just weighed on you and you almost physically felt it? That's because your neocortex, which was engaged in that decision making, was also triggering your discomfort because it wants to get you out of that phase. Now, let me ask you all this. Who do we typically promote to sales managers? Our worst salespeople or our best salespeople? Best salespeople. And who's typically our best salespeople? I'm really good at facts and figures and data, and I'm super organized, and my office and desk look really good. Or man, I'm a C student, but people say yes a lot, right? It's the second one. Yeah, all the time. And so we have that person doing 25 cars a month. We're like, all right, we just fired the guy that trained that person. And we're like, all right, you're in here. Here's your Reynolds login. Figure it out. And we take somebody with this highly developed limbic system and we throw them into a job and say, okay, here's what I want you to do. Sit still and do math all day and make a bunch of hard decisions. And we move them into a job. And here's what's crazy. When you use your neocortex, it makes you wildly uncomfortable. Everybody get out your pen and the little sheet of paper in front of you, because I'm going to make you exercise your neocortex and feel how uncomfortable it makes you. Y'all ready? Get out your pen, your sheet of paper. Here we go. Y'all ready? We're going to use your neocortex right now. Everybody ready? All I want you to do is solve this simple 8th grade math problem without a calculator. Go. You got 30 seconds. Let's go. Set my timer. Bro, the amount of groaning this room just made was spectacular. I see a couple people be like, I ain't even trying. This dude right here is like, nope. Mm-mm. Okay, y'all don't have to actually solve it. I don't even know the answer, so if you get it right, I can't tell you. But here's the question. For the next 45 minutes, we can do one of two things. We can do nothing but like 8th grade math with a pen and paper. So long division, long multiplication, algebra, like the FOIL method, like geometry, like a squared plus b squared equals c. Just simple stuff. No paper, no calculator, just pen and paper. Or we can prick your finger, draw blood, and you can play on your phone for the next 45 minutes. Show of hands, who's getting their blood drawn? I want to see show of hands. Some of you are like, please take my blood right now. Think about that. You would rather have a needle go into one of the most sensitive parts of your body and take blood out than use your neocortex for 45 seconds. That's how painful it is. Now, what's wild is managers are making decisions all the time. They're using that neocortex constantly. They're on the phone with a dealer trade that wants their one white one, and they're trying to give me a silver, and I got 3 silvers, and I'm like, bro, I need another white one. Well, that's happening. I've got a service manager walking up giving me bad news on a trade I took in yesterday, and I got a 23-year-old standing in front of me going, hey, do you remember that Tacoma you bid a week ago? You think you can do 26 on? I don't know, dude, give me a VIN number. And you're in the middle of all this stuff happening, and you're in the middle of all of this neocortex flying, and you're just constantly making these decisions, and using that neocortex leads to an actual psychological phenomenon called decision fatigue, which is the mental strain that comes from making too many choices day to day, which reduces both your efficiency and your effectiveness. Meaning the more decisions you're making all day, every day, the worse you are at those decisions. And if you look at a scientific graph of it, it looks like this. More decisions made, worse you are at decisions. And the studies behind this are spectacular. One of my favorite ones, here's a pro tip, if you're ever a defendant in a court case, be first on the docket, not last on the docket. Because earlier in the day, judges were like, nah, she seems like a nice lady, right? Later on in the day, judges like, nah, throw the book at him. Same thing with sales managers. You ever work a car till like 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday? Hey, what do you got, right? That same dude at like 9 o'clock on a Saturday night, what do you got? Okay, BS, what do you got? Because they're at the low end of that decision fatigue. And what's wild to me is we keep putting more decisions on managers and more decisions on managers and more on our middle management without thinking about the impact. And I'll prove it to you. I was a finance director in like 2009. In 2009, at most dealerships in America, who submitted all the car deals? Finance. At 95+% dealerships today, who submits all the car deals? Sales desk. So I want everybody in here to pretend to be a sales manager for a moment, because I can promise you this decision making is costing you because they're getting it wrong. Let me say that again. There's a lot of decisions a manager thinks they're getting right, and the data shows that a lot of the times we're getting it wrong because we're tasking them with a ton of manual decision making. And I'm going to prove it to you. Everybody get out your pen and paper for a second. I'm going to make you pretend to be a sales manager right now. You just hung up with a dealer trade. You got a salesperson that you just sent to go get a VIN number for you, and a new one walks up and goes, hey, just got back from a test drive. We're ready to work a car deal. Here's what you got. You got a customer buying a 21 used Elantra from you. It's got 17,000 clicks. They got 1,200 in trade equity. They're a 689 FICO. That's a TransUnion score. They got $1,000 cash. They're at 118% LTV, 4% payment to income because they got a great job in job time. Everybody got it in their head. Everybody got this customer in your head. Here's what I want you to do. Top 15 lenders in America, pick the top 3 you would submit it to. Write them down. I want to hear the top 3 you would submit this customer to. We're going to play a game. I wish I had some NADA bucks to give away. I like some of you like really taking this seriously. Okay, what's my equity percentage? Okay, hang on. I know there's an equation here. Who thinks they nailed it? Who thinks they hit the 3? Well, let me ask you all this. If I shotgun this customer to all these, would I have a best approval? Absolutely. Would I have a worst approval? Yeah, does it mean I could rank them out? Sure. There's a right answer to this question. Who think they got it? Nobody's like, I don't know, I'll guess. Who'd you write down? Ally Chase Bank of America. Who'd you write down? Ally Cap One Chase. Who'd you write down? I put TD Wells Santander. Okay, hang on y'all a second. That's one row that all wrote down different stuff. You know, the data shows if you have 3 sales managers on a desk, this customer would get submitted to different banks depending on which sales manager gets that customer. And you know what's crazy to me is, you know how most of us make this decision? We go, well, I don't know, the TD guy was here, dropped off some golf balls, let's go try them on for a second. Or we get into this pattern recognition and we go, oh, is it over 45 grand? Send it to Wells. Why anything over 45 grand go to Wells? 5% flat, bro, send it to Wells. I was at a dealership in California, Kia store, and they were sending everything to Wells. And I was like, why do you guys send everything to Wells? Like, anything over 45K, man, 5% flat. And I looked in Route 1, and it was like, Wells Fargo, turn down, Wells Fargo, turn down, Wells Fargo, turn down, Wells Fargo, turn down, Wells Fargo, turn down. And then I pulled up like the lender guideline that had came out on Wednesday of the week before, where Wells had informed everybody they cut back to 110%. How many here think your sales managers read every lender guideline that comes out? Think about, anybody here did F&I back in the day? Anybody of y'all? Okay, you remember how we used to have a folder, there's a binder, and you would open it up and you would have Wells Fargo lender guideline, flip it over, there'd be a rate sheet. Is there one of those at your desk right now? No! I've been in hundreds of deals, I've never seen one at the sales desk. So you know what they do is we go, well, let me guess. And here's what's crazy. The answer isn't static. Because this is the right answer today. Wells, Ally, Santander. Okay, now here's what's crazy. 6 months ago, do you think that was the right answer? No, 6 months ago, it was Bank of America, TD, and Cap One, because their programs are constantly jockeying around who's going to give the best approval. And what's crazy to me is that at most dealerships, we're getting this wrong. And now that bottleneck that used to be an F&I is happening at the desk. Because why did we move financing submission from F&I up to the desk? Takes too long. F&I takes too long. We're going to speed it up, so we moved it up to the desk. Now let me ask you all this. I've watched a lot of desks. I was at a giant store last week, does 1,000 cars a month. You think their desk is busy? Let me ask you this. Do car deals happen one at a time, like every hour on the hour on our schedule? Or does that shit come in waves? Right, it's 4 hours at that dealership, does 1,000 cars. There was 4 hours, we didn't have a customer. We pulled a couple out of service, there wasn't nothing happening. You could swing a dead cat around and not hit a customer. And then what happens? Out of nowhere, what happens? It just turns into boiler room. Like it goes from nothing to crazy town. They got 3 managers on that desk while I was there. One of them leaves to go bid a car. There's 2 left at the desk. Both of them have about 4 people standing in front of them wanting to work car deals. First one I watched, 500 score, had $1,000 cash, trying to figure out what car to go show them. Second one, new salesperson. They were switching to a lease because they were on way too much truck, and they were going to have to step them down, but they wanted to at least run out there with a lease payment and say, this is the cheapest you can possibly get it. Does this fit your budget? Okay, let's go look at another truck. Third person in line just got back from a test drive, dropped their customer on the showroom, and is standing there waiting for a pencil. At most dealerships, if you're third in line, how long does it typically take you to get that pencil? 15, 20 minutes? Okay. When's your customer's buying temperature the highest? Yeah, second you get back from the test drive. Now 15, 20 minutes, they sit out there. What's happening to that buying temperature? Y'all sit anywhere for 15, 20 minutes not knowing what's going on. What does it make you want to do? Yeah, get up and leave. Like, think about that. Before I ask that customer to say yes to my offer, you know what we're doing? We're psychologically pre-programming that customer to feel like getting up and leaving from our dealership. Do you think that impacts your salesperson's closing rate? Do you think it impacts the amount of gross that they're able to hold? And you know what's wild to me is, any dealers in here, any of y'all actually like DPs, running store, got a group, or you're like, I don't want to raise my, okay, yeah. Here's what's wild to me. If you're at the country club, because that's where I imagine all dealers hang out, and you're talking to other dealers, or you're talking to normies that don't work in the car business, and they're like, what's it like to buy a car at your dealership? We have this narrative that we tell them that it looks like this. Like, this is the story of buying a car at my dealership that exists in my head. If you're a general manager, this is the story that we tell our customers. This is the story that we tell ourselves. Like when we snuggle up at night to go to sleep, this is the story that lives in our head about what it's like to buy a car at my dealership. Is this the story that your customers telling themselves before they show up at the dealership? It's like, yeah. No, you know what the story the customers tell themselves it's going to look like to buy a car at your dealership? This. And they're going, oh man, be careful. Keep your wallet zipped up. Right? Be careful. You're going, okay, this is danger zone. And then they get up and they're like, get back, stay away from me, right? And what's wild to me is I've got to overcome this preconceived notion with a customer. So what cutting edge tool do I use at the moment when they're the most scared of me turning into this to overcome this with the customer? Well, I send out information to a customer on something that looks like this. And I further reinforce the stereotype that the customer has about who I am by basically taking them down the path that they've gone down since their grandpappy was buying a car in 1955, using the same sheet of paper. And what's wild to me, and I think that this is the hard part, is you know who we are more and more and more asking to take this out and show it to a customer? Basically a 23-year-old that was working at a Starbucks 6 months ago, right? Or moving boxes in an Amazon warehouse. And you know what we're all doing? We're all like, okay, all right, Jason, here you go. Here's your deal. Take it out there. And you know what we're all doing is we're like, this kid was raised by the internet, and now I'm praying that they're magically going to turn into Don Draper and go close this guy spending $70,000 on a pickup. Good luck, kid. Or you got the worst problem, which is this guy's trying to sell this guy a car, right? And so we have this like conflict that's happening, and what it's leading to is something that I can't understand. The average salesperson today is selling the same number of units that they were selling in 2016. The average salesperson today is selling the same number of units that they were selling in 2016, yet our costs have increased by 45%. So let's talk about solutions for a moment. What's the target? Well, for me, the target was three things. What did I want to set out and change? What I wanted to change was the time it took to work a car deal, the number of approvals that we could get, and the front end and back end gross that we could generate. That's what I set out. This is the mission. You have to have, I think it was like KE said earlier, you have to keep the main thing the main thing. You have to know what points you're trying to put on the board. And for me, these were the points. Can we sell cars faster, get more approvals at a higher profit? Let's go figure out if there's a way to do that. And here's what we came up with. First off, start automating everything you can for optimization. Who here uses AI in your daily life? Any of you? Bro, if you're not, you are like, I can't express to you. I record every Zoom meeting I do in Fathom. It sends me a recap afterward. If there's action items like Steve wants to set up a meeting with me next Thursday, it'll automatically, through Zapier, look at my calendar and Steve's calendar, find a slot that works, and send an invite to both of us. You know why I do that? Because sometimes I'll do 6 Zoom calls in a row, and if on the first one, Steve and I go, hey, let's meet on Thursday. By the time I get done with number 6, do I remember to go meet on Thursday? I got to look at my chicken scratches on my notebook that I keep while I'm in Zoom meetings and hope that I don't drop something. You automate everything in your life. I'm prove it to you. And you don't have to use technology to automate. Here's an example of automation for optimization that has no tech. That guy, who's way smarter and richer than me, felt that the best he ever looked was in a black Issey Miyake turtleneck, some Levi's 501s, and some New Balance 990s, so that's all he bought. And you see a lot of smart people do that because they don't want the impact of decision fatigue, and they try and get away from it every chance they can so that when they have to use their brain to make a decision, they make the best decision possible. This smart guy does it. Albert Einstein did it. There's a lot of people that basically do these things, and you're doing it right now with technology. You just don't realize it. I spent a bunch of time in Virginia. Most of the cities outside of the DMV are very easy to navigate. Am I right? Like Richmond's an easy town to get around in. I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a grid of 1-mile squares. Like it's not good for traffic, but it's good for navigating. I've grown up there my whole life. I've moved away for a decade. I came back because I love it. And still every morning when I take my kids to school, when I'm not out on the road, you know what I do? Is I plug it into something that looks like this to show me how to get to a place I've gone to 1,000 times. Do you know why we do that? Because we trust that thing to tell me whether Lewis or Riverside is backed up so I can get there the fastest. That's automating your life. And what's wild to me is you can do it in the car business in so many places. We tried to tackle one. All we tried to do was build out a set of logic around the key driver constraints by analyzing millions of automotive approvals per month to go, okay, is there a way that I could look at a customer's credit profile, I could look at the structure of the car deal, I could look at the collateral, and I could automate with the highest probability of sending it to the best lender based on 2 criteria, probability of approval at the lowest probable rate. And we built it. And we tested it against sales managers doing it themselves. And you know what's crazy to me? Is that sales managers will go to more lenders and get less approvals than a machine just deciding who to submit to. Because all 3 of them guess and they all 3 send to different places. Now, this is my favorite saying, sell smarter, not harder. I can't work any more hours. It's like he said, it's hard to find time, I have to make it. And so for me, what I wanted to do was figure out how do I increase, I didn't mean to hit that, I was hitting the pointer. How to increase our speed and efficiency in the way that we work car deals. So I teach at the academy. I get in lots of arguments with GMs. It's really fun for me. I was in a class 4 or 5 months ago and a GM was like, you know, the reason it takes so long, he probably wasn't that hostile, but that's how it sounded in my head. The reason it takes so long is because customers want to negotiate. And I was like, bullshit, bro. We can give ourselves that excuse. And there's some customers that want to negotiate, right? Fine. I think that there's always going to be, but it's not that is the giant time suck. It's how slow the transfer of information is. Because the first car deal I worked at that Mazda store on the desk was with a young lady named Miranda. She was freaking out selling a car. I was like, here, I'll just go talk to him. Let me go out there. I'll come talk to your customer. Calm down. There's 1 manager on the desk. There was 3 that were supposed to be on the desk. His name was Brenton. I said, hey, print me up your typical first pencil. I'll go talk to this customer. I roll out. It's a nice young lady sitting next to her mom. She just graduated college, has a great new job. She's got a fully paid off trade. She's got a little bit of down payment. I go out there. I sit down. All right, guys, here's what I got. So with 10% down at 60 months, you're at a $485 payment. It was on a used CX-30. It was like a 2019 certified or 2022, whatever it was, certified CX-30. She goes, oh, I forgot to tell Miranda this, but I was going to do $5,000 down. What would my payment be with $5,000 down? What do I have to do now? Yeah, I get up. I go, hang on, I'll be right back. I walk the 25 yards back over to the sales tower. Is Brenton, my sales manager, still sitting there? No, Brenton's gone. And now I've got Henry. I go, hey, Henry, she wants to know what this would be with $5,000 down. Who? The Jones deal. Look it up. We look up the deal. We find it. He now pencils it with $5,000 down, gives it back to me. I take it back out. Okay, do this with $5,000 down. Check it out. Your payment drops to $447. Is that what you would like to do? She goes, I hate to do this, but I like to go as extended term as possible. I overpay. That's why this one's paid off. But I just like to know that in the case that something happens, you know, it's an uncertain world that I can have the lowest payment if I need to let it ride a couple months. I said, hang on. I'll be right back. Because what do I have to do again? Get up and go over there. What's wild to me is I walk over there with the sheet of paper. Now Brenton and Henry are both gone. It's 11 o'clock, so Gabby's showing up for her shift. She sits down. Hey, Gabby. And she's got her giant deal of keys that she throws on the desk and her Starbucks drink. I'm like, hey, Gabby, can you write this deal up at 72 months? She's like, hang on, I'm getting logged in. Come on, Gabby, I got a customer. About that time, Laria, the GM, walks up and starts getting on to Gabby over something that happened yesterday. And now Gabby and Laria, the GM, are in a very intense conversation that's making me really uncomfortable. And I'm standing here with a customer that's waiting. Who is this impacting, by the way? The 2 people KE talked about earlier, the customer and the teammate. And I'm standing there waiting. Hey, come on. Hey, Laria, you can get upset at her later. I just need this deal printed out. I got a car deal out here. And I finally get the deal printed out. I walk back out there. As I walk up, there's another chair pulled up and a dude sitting there. Hey, welcome to the party, Mr. Third Base Coach. Let's see how this changes things. I sit down, 72 months, $5,000 down. Here's your car deal. And he goes, man, that payment sure seems high. Now, I'm old school. So I go, really, compared to what? Because compared to the one I leased for her niece 3 months ago, you should be looking at a new one. Let's look at a lease on a new one because the payment's better than this. And with your down payment, it's probably going to be a really, really low payment. All right, let's start over, Miranda. Let's go. And what's wild to me is that a lot of us are like, well, not in my store. They get back out there every time. My manager's 2 in TO. No, they're not. They got too much going on. because they're working 5 car deals at one time. And they know that they probably don't have to get involved in Miranda's to put that car deal together, but they got to keep an eye on Charlie because that deal may go completely sideways on them. And they're scared that if they go over there, he's going to miss his car deal. And she's notorious for letting people go without me talking to them. And so now I'm trying to balance all those things in my head. And here's what's wild to me, and you've already caught my punchline, but I'll say it anyways. You want to speed up the way you're working car deals, here's a tech solution. Just put one of those on every one of your salespeople's desks, because that shit's faster than what you're doing right now. You could just have that out on their desk, fax it out there, because it's way faster than what you're doing right now. Now, most of you have some form of like digital retail on your website, yet your tech stack inside your dealership where it matters is sheets of paper, printer, and Sharpies. Your customer can do more on your website than your salespeople can do on your showroom floor. It's crazy to me. It's like I come in to buy this car and now my ability to get the information I want shrinks. How does that make any sense? So what's my belief? My belief is if you've got good bumpers on the rail and my ball is rolling towards a strike, why do I put obstacles in the way? I shouldn't. I should allow a salesperson to get back from a test drive. I should have everything already built and whatever penciling, desking tool I'm going to use. My salesperson should walk into the showroom with their customer and I should be waving at them, giving them a thumbs up that they know they can sit down and get straight to the numbers, because the faster I get to numbers, the higher my closing rate is and the more gross I'm going to make. Am I right? Absolutely. Now, why do I know this? Because I did it over and over again. Let me tell you something. When you put a pencil on a screen, even if it is just a PDF of a pencil, the way that consumers respond to it is crazy to me. This is a real picture of a real customer that bought a car from me. That's the salesperson, Devin, that was working the car deal. And I put this up here because this customer used the same word track on me that a bunch of customers had used on me that I had never heard in this business before. Pulled it up. All right, 10% down. You're at a 60 months. Here's what your payment is. Is that what you would want to do? Okay, put $5,000 down. Okay, put $10,000 down. Okay, go to 72. Okay, go back to 60. I'll do that one. I've never heard a customer say that to me before. Okay, I'll do that one. I'll do that one. And it made me realize that there is something about the way that technology functions in concert with human beings that changes the way that human beings function. You're going to have a great speaker tomorrow that's going to talk about the human side of this experience, and I want you to go listen to her and pay attention, because for me, it's that intersection of those two things that actually matters. And what's wild to me is that we're not using it, even though all the research says that you're 10 times more likely to give your credit card to a computer screen than you are to a human being. Now, how do you use this in retail? Well, this is being used against you constantly. I fly into Reagan Airport, usually twice a month, to go to Tyson's Corner, Virginia, to speak to Academy students. And I laugh all the time because I'll ask everybody in the class, hey, who here took an Uber to your hotel when you flew in? And what do they all do? They all raise their hand, and I ask them, well, why did you take an Uber? And what do you think they all say? It's faster, convenient, it's more convenient. You know what I say? Bullshit, bro. It's not nearly as convenient. It's worse. And I know because I am a dum-dum who also takes an Uber. And I book it, and it's 14 minutes till my car shows up, and I gotta play Frogger across a highway to stand in a island as I'm waiting. And to cross that highway, I walk past a line of yellow cabs that I could get in that would immediately take me to my hotel and probably shave 15, 20 minutes off my total wait time. But I don't. You know why? Because I'm a sucker for a screen, just like all y'all. And I hit the button, and I go, okay, well, Jason's gonna be here in 22 minutes. And what's wild to me is that your customers will do the same thing. They will literally, you will watch when it is on a screen and it is interactive for them, how different they respond than when I do it the normal way, which is to set a sheet of paper down and across from, think about this for a moment. I want y'all to watch this. Do you think this makes him more comfortable or less comfortable? Let me be honest. You think this makes him more comfortable or less comfortable? Okay, this is how every car deal at your dealership gets worked. I pay a 23-year-old that was raised on TikTok to come look a guy in the eyes, which is hard. Yeah, they're like this, like, so with $6,000 down, you're at this payment. And what I don't think you see, because you see this happen all the time, is you just accept this as normal. For this dude, this is not normal. He does this once every 3 to 5 years. And here's why I tell you that, because I took this picture of a real car deal because I saw something happening that was wildly different. I took a picture of this car deal because see this body language? By the way, this kid's been selling cars for 2 months. He can't spell car deal. He's at a Subaru store. This customer's back to buy their third Forester from this store. Are any Subaru dealers there? Subaru customers weird? Bro, super weird, right? They're not easy customers. No, does it have a dog bowl? And what's wild to me is this deal's going on here. I walk by and snap a photo, and he looks at me as I'm taking the picture like, what are you doing, bro? Because this was something I'd never seen before. Are they sitting across from each other? They've already closed on payment. He's now going over F&I products. Now, I'm not somebody that's here advocating for single point of contact stores. I used to believe it wasn't real and couldn't happen, and I've seen it happen. This is a perfect example because I'm old school. I took this picture. I was like, okay, ran back over to the desk, loaded up Reynolds, looked at their last car they bought because I wanted to see. They used to have F&I managers. Wonder if they got anything. What do you think that customer bought in F&I on the last Forester they bought? Nothing. Made $250 on a flat. Looked at the one before that. What do you think they bought on that one? Their first one. I was hoping they got their heads lobbed off. So the second time they came in, they're like, we're not buying none of that stuff this time. The first one, what do you think they bought? With an F&I, nothing. $300 flat. It's a better program back then, I guess. This kid, as I'm looking these up in my head, I'm going, oh man, this kid's doomed. This poor kid. This kid is done. This is going to go bad. All of a sudden, he comes to the desk and goes, all right, they're done. They did a gold package? Wait, Holmes. Did you just say gold package? Yeah, on the menu, they picked the gold package? Bro, that's everything minus theft. Yeah, they thought it made sense. I was like, I hate my life so much right now because that kid who's been in the business for 2 months just sold some shit that old school, hard-nosed professional F&I managers couldn't get with that customer. But I think this is what sticks out to me. Notice their body language. They look like they're sitting at the bar or a high top at Chili's watching a basketball game. And here's the other thing that stuck out to me is I immediately, because I'm me, jumped into the back-end code of AutoFi to look at what time he logged that customer. And from him logging that customer, closing on a payment, closing on a menu, and coming to see me was 22 minutes. Now, here's why I think technology is so influential. I got 10 minutes left. Some good stuff to give you. This is a real screenshot from a real car deal I worked with automated lender routing. Anybody ever take a customer that right off the bat's now I know what you're going to do. And I'm like, sir, I don't know what I'm going to do. So you got a leg up in this deal. You're going to try and give me some BS interest rate that's just way too high. Well, that's not what I'm hoping to do. But we haven't even found a car you like yet. Let's go find a car you love. And when it comes time to that, we use lots of banks and credit unions, and we'll find whatever rate's the best for you. And if it makes sense, buy it. And if not, it's you'll leave here better educated, and you can secure your own financing. All right, but I will get mad and I'll blow out of here. Okay, cool. Let's go find a truck. So we go find this car. It's cheap. It's old. It's all about low payments. He's wanting to go 84 months, right? And here's what's crazy. These decisions come back with max markup. So my best callback was 13 and a half, something like that, 13.7, whatever it is. This pops up on screen. I ain't paying no 10%, he told me. This pops up. Now, the cool thing is these other two things popped up. Chase cutting back to 75 months at 18 and a half. Santander cutting back to 75 months at 19. And now he's staring at those three logos on his screen. And I'm sitting there bracing for impact because I'm assuming this guy's about to swing on me. And he does the 45 seconds of loud nose breathing. And you remember that from your car selling days? No, sir, you're clearing it out. All right, good job. And I'm sitting there, and in my head, I've got that voice that's don't say anything. Don't talk. Whoever talks first loses. Shut your mouth, Joe. I know it's uncomfortable. I'm literally having this conversation in my head. And all of a sudden, he goes, okay, guess I'll do that ally one. Now, I had one of those lightning strike moments then that I realized how much money I'd been leaving on the table. my entire career working car deals because I know how I would have worked that car deal at the desk. I would have submitted that deal. I would have shotgunned it out. I would have found my best approval. My best approval was probably 13%. I would have been buying it down because I'm holding on the trade. I would have been doing everything I could because I would have believed the story that my salesperson was telling me. And in that case, I would have sent out like 11.75. Is this customer going to be happy at 11.75? No, he's going to be pissed. Who's he going to be pissed at? Me, right? And I was like, dude, buckle up. Go get your spatula out. We're going to peel him off the ceiling. Right, all right, get ready. Spray some Pam up there. He's going to stick. And then while that's happening, I'm trying to find a better rate. I'm trying to buy it down. I finally get like 989. I get it to my salesperson. Salesperson comes back at 989. Is the customer happy with 989 now? No, they're still pissed off. And what's wild to me is I would give away my money without letting the customer make a decision with theirs. And we do it all day, every day. And we do it because our brains are wired to do it. And we're fighting against that tug of more decisions we have to make, more decisions we have to make, more decisions we have to make. This is my final little bit. It's about leveling up your Gen Z salespeople. I was telling you about that Subaru store. I love that store. This is the salespeople there. Have you ever seen a more Gen Z sales force than this? It's incredible. You've got like Luis and Emilio. They came from an Amazon warehouse. I have a secret high five I now know that's like an Amazon high five. You got like Devin, you've got Sammy, and Summer. Summer uses they, them pronouns, has like green hair or purple hair all the time. Summer, before they started selling cars, was a barista at Starbucks, and Luis and Emilio were Amazon warehouse workers. That's why I use those slides. That's where they came from. And I show you this because here's an actual picture of me like 25 pounds ago with a mustache selling cars. There's Summer squatted down. There's Luis and Emilio. There's Devin. Or no, Maurice, there's Devin. Like that's my most Gen Z looking sales force you've ever seen. And I show you this because I texted that picture to my dad who retired from the car business probably 10 years ago. And I said, this is what selling cars looks like these days. And he sent me back bullshit. I said, they're better than you were. And he sent me back bullshit. And then I said, in this picture, they're bored on the last day of the month. 20, 20, 24, 28. Every one of those kids is smashing car deals. They got no F&I and they're running over $2,000 a throw at a Subaru store. And here's what's wild to me. That kid right there, that's Chris. He's just turned 21. I know because after August, we set like an all-time record. I was like, all right, I'm taking you guys to Azul Tequila. We're getting beers. He's like, sorry, I can't drink yet. I was like, wait, what? Yeah, I haven't turned 21. I was like, oh, you got braces. I should have known, right? Like literally, their owner texted me that in June and said, hey, Chris led the board in May. How many do you think he did? What would you text back? 30, so I texted 30, 35, 42. Doesn't have an assistant. What he has is automation all around him, so all he has to do is focus on getting the customer to fall in love with the vehicle. And what's wild to me is we did a study at a Southern California Subaru store whose name I can't say, but you see it on the screen here, moving from a sheet of paper to technology to present numbers to a customer. And here's what happened. Their time to transact went down by 74%. Their front to back gross went up by $911. And here's what's wild to me. Their turnover went to basically nothing. They had one salesperson, Cody Morrow. Cody went across the street to that Chrysler store, came back a week later and was like, I don't know what that was, but it was horrible. Can I please have my job back? They just yelled at me, threw paper wads. It was awful. And they brought him back on, and he became like, kind of like the story of why you don't leave the comfort of this dealership. But there's one number in here that's the number that we don't talk about, but we should. I talked about it earlier. The salespeople today is selling on average the same thing they were selling in 2016. What happened at this store was their productivity or units per salesperson went up by almost 50%. Why does units per salesperson matter? Well, it's, in my opinion, the number one lever to drive net profitability at a dealership in the variable ops world. Now, everywhere else, we have all of our levers. You're at 100% fixed absorption. I work at the academy. We get it, right? But nobody ever tells you, how do I get net profit out of a new car department? It's bleeding money. I'm giving cars away, trying to make it up in F&I. Well, here's how. Using pre-COVID NADA averages, if your dealership does 170 units a month, new and used combined, and you take your average salesperson from almost 10 units up to 18 units, do you know what that does to your net profit? Not gross, Not top line. I'm talking roll it down to the very bottom. Net profitability for that dealership goes up over $500,000 a year. You want to talk about the biggest driver of net that nobody's talking about? We all brag about our PVR. We all brag about like those that are like, oh man, I'm running $3,000 a throw. Cool. Are you keeping any of it? It's one of the number one drivers of net profitability. And bro, I've got like a minute left. I smashed it, and I am going to call it. We don't have time for questions. I'll put in my all-new slide, end it out. That's my actual cell phone number. If y'all ever want to text me, just know I will respond in GIF. It's my favorite form of communication. If you call it GIFs, we're not friends anymore. Y'all been awesome. I appreciate you.